Welcome to BSc Statistics students. In this class, I explain components of time series, which is one of the crucial topic of the time series. Let's have a look at the various factors which are affecting the values of the variable in time series, which are called components of time series. The change of the data, the change in the variable, it is going to be affected by some particular factors. Some particular factors affects these values of the variables in a time series data, which are called components of time series, which are going to be discussed in this particular session. So usually there are four components of time series. First one, long-term variations, the secular trend or trend. Second one, seasonal variations. Third one, cyclic variation. Fourth one, irregular variations. The seasonal and cyclic variations are also called short-term variations, short-term fluctuations or variations. So we discuss one by one. If we discuss long-term variations or secular trend. The general tendency observed in the variable of a time series data of increasing or decreasing during a long period of time. That is the tendency, which means the change of the variable, the variations in the variable of a time series data, whether it is increasing or decreasing, which is going to be observed during a long time period, is called long-term fluctuations or long-term variations, or simply secular trend or trend. So in this, the type of variations mostly observed in business and economic statistics. Business and economic statistics. That is due to some particular over a long period of time, the variations or fluctuations of the variable of the data is going to be observed over a long period of time, either increasing or decreasing the some kind of that is some kind of variation, whether it increased or decreased, is going to be observed over a long period of time. We see some of the examples so that you can easily understand. So these are the examples. Now you study the examples, right? So these are the examples of upward tendency, that is increasing. Some economic variables may increase over a long period of time. So this tendency is known as upward tendency. Like you see some examples I'm giving to you. Growth of the population during last decade. The population usually is going to be increased. That is upward tendency is going to be observed. Industrial production observed in the last 5 years. That is upward tendency. Agricultural production of some particular state or a particular country is going to be generally increased. So last 10 years, last 8 years, etc. The profits of a company or last 5 years. So these are the general variables of a particular data, usually shows upward tendency. Similarly, come to the examples of downward tendency. Some of the economic variables may decrease, observed as some particular decrease in a particular variable over a long period of time, is known as downward tendency. The examples I specify here: the number of deaths taken place in a particular district. Obviously, if you take more precautions, the health precautions, and obviously it's going to be decreased. Epidemics occurs in last 10 years, so some particular number of years. It is also showing the downward tendency. Illiteracy observed in the country during the some last number 10 years or 20 years or so, the illiteracy. So it is also looking to be downward tendency. right? Due to the research specified clearly, due to the advancement in medical sciences and better medical facilities and high standards of living, these are going to be these variables like births, deaths, epidemics, illiteracy, etc., which shows downward tendency. It may not be generally. We are speaking generally. Remember that it may increase in one particular epidemic conditions, etc. But some, for example, deaths, number of deaths may be increased due to some particular in epidemic situation. So therefore, it is not a particular phenomena. Generally, we are specifying these are the variables shows downward tendency. Need not be considered always. Always it may not be true, right? Okay, so these are the some particular variables, and the changes can be observed, changes can be identified, recognized over a long sequence of period. Over a long period, we can observe the variation. For example, agricultural production, the variation can be observed over a long period. For every month, we cannot observe the variation. What is the variation in the agricultural production data? That cannot be observed because it can be the changes can be identified. Okay? Changes can be only recognized in a long period of time. For example, for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. We can compare yearly. The crop is going to be obtained in a particular average season. So changes can be observed over a long period. Or for 5, if you observe the data of 5 years, we can observe the change. Otherwise, we cannot observe. So that is the reason why, which are all comes under long-term fluctuations or long-term variations. Right? If you discuss the next one, seasonal variations. So seasonal variations, if we discuss what is meant by seasonal variations, the variations in a time series due to some rhythmic forces which occurs in a regular and periodic manner over a span of less than 1 year. You see, this is what one kind of observation, and the same almost repeated, the same pattern after year, are called seasonal variations. So seasonal variations means the variations obtained, which can be obtained in a particular season to season, one particular season to another particular season. The variations can be observed. Such variations are called simply seasonal variations, which may be observed quarterly or monthly or weekly or daily. So which may be observed. The season depends on season or due to some rhythmic forces, which means as some kind of pattern is observed year after year. As some kind of pattern is observed, for example, some particular due to some particular factors like marriages. In marriage season, generally some particular items the prices will be very high. Similarly, due to in a particular summer, some particular items are more demand. Items have more demand. So that which are the reasons? Which are the reasons for rhythmic forces? Which are nothing but rhythmic forces. Some particular forces due to some particular pattern, the variations are going to be observed. So usually, which are going to be observed from season to season, one season to another season, year after year, 1 year or another year is going to be compared. Like, what are the examples? You see here, the examples are very, very, very clear. Price of gold in jewelry shop. So usually the gold prices which are in some particular season, which can be identified, which can be, the variations can be observed, and the prices of gold in from season to season. Due to some particular, in the particular marriage season, it will be it has some particular demand. And similarly, due to some particular festival season, and it has some demand, whether increasing or decreasing. The prices may be increased or decreased. So, but it is in the some particular pattern, same pattern. The demand will be very high. The price will be adjusted due to that particular factors. Like that, it is going to be observed. Similarly, sales and profits of departmental stores. For example, if you consider in monthly in every first week of the month, that can be treated as because of the high demand or more the sales and profit sales is going to be observed in the every first week of the month, like that. The sales and profits of electrical goods. Similarly, for example, electrical fans, the demand will be more in summer season, like that. So, if you observe many number of examples we have, and now what I want to do is there are some kind of patterns which can be identified, and so that in that way, that is in that fashion, the variations can be observed. You see here, the seasonal variations may be arise due to the following reasons: climatical changes, weather conditions, man-made conventions, etc. These are the two important factors. The seasonal variations may occur. Seasonal variations may be obtained, right? Occur. The first one, you discuss climatical changes and weather conditions. So mainly these are the these seasonal variations can be observed because of the changes in the climate and weather conditions. For example, you consider the sales of umbrella will be more in the rainy season. The demand of refrigerator, AC, electrical fans, etc. more in summer season. In summer season, the sales of the refrigerator, electrical fans, etc. will be more automatically. The sales of the woolen cloths rise in the winter season. The demand and sales of the commodities like sugar, wheat, rice, pulses, etc. will be high during the period of particular period in a year, which will be low in the rest of year. What I discussed in a month, every first week of the month, which will be more, the demand and sales will be more for these commodities, groceries, and after that it will be decreased usually. So therefore you can easily identify these are the one such identification of the seasonal variations, climatic changes, and weather conditions. Next one, man-made conventions. The seasonal variations are also due to the habits, fashions, customs, and conventions of the people living in the society. For example, sales of gold ornaments will be more in the during the marriages and festivals. The demand and profits of the general commodities, which will be more in the departmental stores during some festivals like Shankranti, Vijayadashmi, Deepavali, etc. So the main object, what is the main objective of this particular? The main objective of measuring the seasonal variations is isolate them from the trend. That is very important, and study their effects. That is what is the main role of that particular, what is the main effect of a particular variable, how that particular variable is going to be affected in that particular season. That is going to be identified, that is going to be traced and identified. That's very, very important, rather than taking all this. That is the identifying the variations. The variations are going to be identified, and so that which are to be isolated, is to isolate this particular trend and to study the main effect of seasonal variations, the variations in a particular season, variations due to in a particular specific time period, which will be more. That is good to be calculated and identified and calculated, obtained, which are to be obtained. The variations are to be obtained. What kind of variations are going to be observed? That is very, very important. Next one, cyclic variations. You see the cyclic variations, the oscillatory movements in a time series with a period of oscillation more than 1 year are known as cyclic variations. So, which means it is generally it is called a one particular cycle, that is period. Period is going to be a complete period is going to be represented as a cycle. The cyclic variations usually occurred in business because there is a one particular pattern. There will be some particular huge demand in one particular season. Thereafter, demand will be decreased, or thereafter some particular demand is constant. Like that, the some particular changes occurred. In one particular season, it will more. Demand of a particular commodity will more. In another particular season, the demand is less. In another particular season, demand just normal, usual. So you see here, the cyclic variations are even though more or less regular, but not to be periodic. Need not follow exactly the same pattern period after period. The cyclic movements occurred in any business activity is known as business cycle. So, which has 4 phases. A prosperity, boom, it's more. Recession, depression, and recovery, and again recovery. And normally lasts from the 7 to 11 years. It is going to be observed due to some particular span it was specified here. The most of economic and business related activities follow a business cycle and have cyclic variations. The examples for this, the prices, income, production, wages, investment, etc. affected by cyclic variations follows particular a pattern of business cycle. So generally it refers business, the business cycle. Right? And the next one more important variations are irregular variations. Important variations are irregular variations, which means terms itself speaks very clearly, no particular pattern, no regularity. Okay, so some kind of variation which are purely random, erratic, unpredictable, unforeseen, accidental, and non-recurring again, which are called irregular variations. So such variations do not exhibit any definite pattern, no particular pattern for these variations. Do not occur in regular period of time, no regularity in a particular period. For example, in this May, if you get the variation, some particular pattern, if you observe some particular pattern for the variations, and again the next year May, in the month of May, if you want to see the same particular pattern cannot be observed. So for which no particular pattern. These variations are due to the factors like floods. So for example, some particular floods took place. Then obviously some kind of prices will be increased. So this is usually happen, like some wars, earthquakes, famines, epidemics, strikes, lockouts. Due to some particular strikes and lockouts, the prices will be more, which will be not usual in usual pattern. So therefore, these are the some particular factors which we may observe the variations come irregularly. Variations occur irregularly. So such variations are called irregular variations, which cannot be predicted and which are beyond the control of human hand, which we cannot control. We cannot control a particular flood, or we cannot, it is not on our hands, which are beyond the human endeavor, human control, which are not in our hands, epidemics, earthquakes, wars, which are all, etc., are all not in our hands. Therefore, what we want to do is the irregular variations cannot be identified, cannot be eliminated, identified and eliminated. These are the variations which may occur in an erratic fashion, purely randomly. So therefore, such variations cannot be identified, which are only to be isolated. It cannot be identified by human endeavor. So such variations are known as irregular variations. You see here, this in some cases the irregular variations may not be significant, while other these variations may be very effective and may be given rise to the cyclic variations. Fine. Hope you understand. Thank you. Thank you so much.